Hey guys, Leviamon here for another deck profile, and as you can see, we are taking another look at Leviamon. This is honestly, one of my all-time favorite decks because for Royal Knights, as you guys know, my favorite is Magna X, but for Demon Lords, my all-time favorite is Leviamon because I just love that he's just this big like croc that just wants to eat everybody. I just like that aspect, but the deck actually did get some support in BT16 with the new Gesomon X, which actually makes this deck pretty viable now because the main issue that we genuinely had in BT16 and currently now in EX6 is still the form of Tyrant, specifically the fact that Izzy specifically stops you from basically punching through, even though your guy is like 16,000, which they can easily boost over. Um, Along with that, you have to honestly be able to get seven lightning into your trash to kind of set up to blow up their board, which is possible, but at the same time, the problem is that Tyrant and most of the deck can make itself invulnerable to stuff, specifically Tyrant himself, Hercules, and Kabuteri, which if they're on the board, it basically stops you from killing them. But with 7th Lightning, Biting Crush, and all that stuff, you should be able to get rid of it. But now with the new support from BT16 and potentially EX6, sadly, we don't use that much. We don't really use any cards from the new EX6. The new Leviamon, honestly, it's good. Maybe as like a one of, maybe if I can, if eventually I get an AA copy of it. But at the same time, it's not really that great because all it does is kind of strip sources and bounce stuff. But compared to the original one that actually deletes stuff and gains memory, and the fact that Leviathan X in conjunction with its own option card can basically wipe a board, is way stronger than the new one, sadly. And it really sucks because you can't utilize all his effects because his all turns effects is specifically 4 to 7 Great Demon Lords, which isn't that great. But Leviamon alone in his own deck is actually still very solid, even in EX6, because no matter what, you are able to, as long as you're able to wipe a board, your opponent basically can't do anything about that sometimes, and it actually allows you to go for a game. And the fact that this deck does run the Protoform, which basically makes it so you can always get back a piece that you need for next turn, which is really solid. But yeah, no, the deck is just it's really solid. So I wanted to do another deck profile on it to basically show the new changes I've done to it. We have basically just stopped using Servicemon X. You can use that engine with the Dobermon X. It is very good, but unless you're like fully maxing out on the protoforms or the X antibodies, it doesn't really feel as good to play them. I honestly I like it, but the problem is that Cerberus Mon X only plays a guy on your side rather than uh, like on their side. See, I like the effects that allow me to basically evolve for free, which specifically dictate your opponent getting stuff rather than you. The Cerberus Bond X build specifically focuses on just gaining as much memory as possible and going into a Leviathan for as cheap as possible, and then doing it again next turn over and over. But with this version, it's more about giving your opponent a guy and then making it so it can't do anything, but then it'll trigger your effects. I like that honestly more as a playstyle because then it actually gives you time to kind of like wait for them to have one of their rookies die, so that way you can actually set up with that, which is really cool. And of course, the fact that this deck does have Biting Crush, which it's actually a really good counter to Imperial because they have to basically use the Dual Tamer to search. So if you set up a Biting Crush early, like maybe killed their rookie with it and give them a lot of memory, they are basically forced to do that. And then if you have the Leviamon, you get to pop their Searcher and potentially Leviamon X popping their Tamer, which actually really slows them down considerably. But yeah, let's get into deck profile so I can show you what I mean. So we're still running the 4 Sunomons. Sunomon is still basically the best egg for this deck because it helps you cycle through your deck faster, which is your main thing because you need to do that to get the X antibodies and the level 5s and higher, so this is really crucial. For rookies, we actually bumped it up from 10 to 12, and we did switch them out because with how a lot of decks are now, it's very easy for them to get rid of basically floodgates, specifically like Gazimon and like let's say Psychmon. So basically, I opted to just go all out and just swing as fast as possible and set up as fast as possible. So we're going back to the old Gabumon and one Gabu X engine because this does help us search for the X antibody, which actually is not too bad. Plus the fact that you get to draw a card and then trash a card at the same time, so really solid. And of course, this Gabumon does give you extra memory. But yeah, so basically we just run this as a way to gain memory and to get extra draws and get searches. The next rookie we run is, of course, 4 Goblimons. This guy is basically just here specifically because I do not have the Sayakomon specifically from BT15, the one that does on play, draw a card for each of your opponent's Digimon. So I'm basically opting to run the 4 Goblimons because we do trash a lot in this deck from our hand, so we are guaranteed to get the extra memory. So this is our other main rookie to evolve into because it helps us set up. Then we run actually 3 of the Sayakomon X. He's actually not too bad to play in the deck because it forces your opponent start a main phase to basically trash a Digimon card, and if they don't, you gain a memory. And the cool thing is that you can actually pass them to 1 memory because it's a 1 cost on top of purple. And his when attacking has actually come up a bit because I've actually been able to set 7th Lightning with this specifically to swing. Basically, I would swing with Waru, draw, trash 7th, and then play their rookie. And then by doing that, since I have the X antibody or the proto form underneath, I evolve into that, and then I basically wipe their entire board in the process, which is really cool. Then for the last rookie, we obviously are still running the Guilmon. Guilmon is still really strong because you will be trashing a lot of cards, and you should be up to 20 cards by turn 5 or 6. So basically, if you have enough memory, you can hard play this and just go for game. And as I mentioned before, this is exactly 12 rookies, so now we should be seeing them more consistently. In the previous build, I just bricked a lot, even with the searching, even with the memory boost. I honestly really didn't like the memory boost because they couldn't hit these 3 cards specifically, so it actually really hurt consistency, so I decided to take them out. For level 4s, we actually run I believe we run about 12 because that way we can evolve on all of these. And the fact that we see them more consistently, I was only running, I think, about 9, maybe 10. And sometimes I would just not see them at all. And that actually, as I mentioned, it hurts consistently a lot. First off, we're running 3 of the Garuru from the starter deck because draw 1 from Evolution and draw 1 and trash 1, which is really nice. 1 Garuru X because Garuru X is busted, gives you a memory, draw 2, discard 2, pretty broken. Then we run 3 of the new Gesomon from BT15. This guy is actually really good because on play, your opponent has to trash a Digimon from their hand. If not, you get a memory. The only downside to him is that when your opponent doesn't have Digimon, you can't attack with him, but that's fine because he has a really good inherent where when an effect plays an opponent's Digimon, gain 1 memory, which we will be doing a lot in this deck. Then we run 3 of the new BT16 Gesomon X because this guy is actually pretty cracked. Against certain decks that require their tamers to suspend, you basically make it so they can't suspend. Like specifically, if you have Gesso or X antibody under this card, you can basically strip 3 of their sources. But then one of your opponent's Digimon or tamers without cards under it can't suspend until the end of their turn. Obviously, you would either target a Digimon with no sources, but the thing is you want to use this specifically to target tamers because a lot of decks in this format still are using tamers that suspend a lot. So this actually helps you from basically making it so you don't die in the process. Specifically against Tyrant, against Imperial, you can make it so they can't suspend their Davis and can gain the extra memory or strip any of your sources. Izzy can't redirect stuff for them. What else is there? There's a bunch of other tamers that do stuff when suspended, but it's just the fact that this stops them. And then it also has a when attacking, draw 1 and trash 1. So in conjunction with Sayakomon, you're basically getting 2 draws and 2 trashes. So really solid. Then we run for the last level 4, we run 2 Octomon. Octomon is actually still really solid. You can hard play him to pass turn, and then you spawn a token on their side that you can kill to make them discard stuff, which is really cool. And then it still has the exact same effect as the other stuff, where it's all turns when an effect plays an opponent's Digimon, you get to gain a memory, so really solid. That's basically all for level 5s. As I mentioned, we're running we're basically running 12 specifically because we want to see them more consistently. For level 5s, we actually only run 2, and we only run about 6 of them in total. We, of course, are running the Dragomon, especially because we are going for the combo of playing stuff from their trash. And of course, you get to play something back too at the same time, so you can play back any of these. You can play back this to search more, so pretty cool. Then we run 3 of the Waru Seedramon. This one is basically for when attacking, and the cool thing is that if it's your turn when swinging, all of your effects will go off first, meaning you can potentially get rid of their whole board in the process before they can really do anything. And then, of course, both of these give piercing, so you're basically going to pierce through no matter what, so pretty solid. For level 6s, we only run 2, and that's specifically the 4 Leviamon cards from EX6 actually. This guy's still one of the most, like, it is literally one of the best level 6s because it pops stuff, it has security plus, it has an on play, it deletes stuff, gains memory. Also, the fact that that effect is all turns, so anytime something dies, you just gain memory regardless, so it's really nice. Then we run 3 of the Leviamon X because this guy's just really cracked because he can evolve on top of any level 5 with an X antibody underneath him whenever your opponents play something, and both your level 5s do that. So you basically get to evolve for free. You get to pop a level 3, 5, and 7, and then with 7th Lightning, you get to pop a 4 in level 6, so you basically cover everything, so you basically wipe their board. And of course he has security attack +2, so you're basically guaranteed to check a lot. And with Protoform, even if you die, you can just make another one next turn, so pretty solid. The rest of the deck, we don't actually run Tamers in this deck. Our main concern is to just basically go as hard as possible, so we actually run 4 of the trainings. Training is just really strong. As I mentioned before, I did opt to remove the memory boosts because they actually conflict with one of the option cards, so I just decided to take it out and just go only for this one. Then we run 3 7th Lightning because 7th Lightning is just really good. The fact that you could just delete something level 4 and level 6 for a cost of 7, and you get to set up your trash, it's very strong. Then we run 3 Biting Crushes because Biting Crush is still one of the best option cards for removal, and of course it helps us play Levi for free if they do anything. Then we run 2 Protoforms because Protoform is just really busted and helps us go into Gesomon X or Leviamon X pretty easily. And then we do run 1 of the X antibody because that way if we go with Waru and we don't have this, or if we have Drago without that, we can use this one instead, which is really cool. It's still very solid. Like these 3 memory or these 3 X antibodies actually have worked out way better. Originally I was running 2 and 2, but 2 and 3 actually feels a little bit more solid because I see these more consistently now. And as I mentioned, the main thing is to go for consistency because this is a stack deck, and it's a really weird stack deck at that, so you have to be very careful with how you do things. Mainly how you want to do it with this deck is to just set up as many trainings as possible and then just go off from there and just do cheap cost and just blow up their whole boards. And a lot of decks actually this format don't have that much protection aside from Magna X, and I haven't seen Magna X pop up in my locals at all so far, so we really don't have to worry about that. The main thing is just getting rid of like other meta decks like Tyrant, Imperial, and actually War Greymon and like Rapid X and mine. And most of those guys do not have protection aside from Imperial's Partition, which is a little bit different, but that's more like just playing guys back out. But the thing is that also triggers our Biting Crushes, so we actually do have a counter to it, thankfully. Same with Tyrant. You can just hard play this and just kill their Tyrant, and you get to get a free Levi in the process, so it's really solid. And then if they try to Grand Kawaga, they can't really do anything because they can suspend our guy, but they don't have a tamer to pop either. So we just kind of go off and just keep wiping their board consistently. And the fact that we can kill their ace, so pretty solid. But yeah, as I mentioned, this is actually still very good into the meta, surprisingly. Like, I'm kind of surprised not that many people are playing this deck anymore because it was doing really well in BT 15. In 16, it was still there, but it wasn't doing as well. But it's just, I feel like people were just moving on to new decks. This deck is still very strong, so I'm kind of surprised people aren't playing it anymore. It's really good. It's still very decent, and I'm assuming people are probably just moving on to 7th grade Demon Lords and being like, oh, hey, just play that instead. But I personally still really love playing this deck. It's like how my friend really loves Beelsmon. A shout out to my friend Ken. He is like our de facto Beelsmon player in our locals. Like he loves that deck. And that's the same for me with Levia because nobody else I feel like has Levia aside. Actually, coincidentally, my friend Ken does have Levia. But the thing is that he mainly focuses on playing Beals instead. So for me, it's all about Levia. For him, it's Beals. So I feel like there's that kind of dynamic going at my local. So I feel like I need to be at least playing this deck occasionally, and bringing it back occasionally and fixing it. So I fixed it and I made it more consistent. So pretty decent. As usual, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys next time.